sure what you wanted. Yeah. How are things? You okay? Get along. Sorry, man. Yeah. Sorry.
one for all. But you guys waited.
All right, we're on the air. It's the October 7th work session, and most of the work session today is devoted to our update on our economic development goal. Bring it over to Assistant City Manager Joseph.
Good evening, council. But really, as a city manager, I'm here with my colleague, Sarah Fox, Economic Development Coordinator. You met her last time we were here talking about economic development. You probably knew her as Sierra Williams. Congratulations.
Oh, hey, I was wondering. I was like, does she prefer that? Is that a preferred name? Congratulations.
And tonight, as the mayor said, we're going to talk, it's our quarterly update for the, so we're going to give the update on the staff side, and then we're going to hand it over to Councilor Staffen George, who's been the council liaison for this goal, to kind of help usher in the conversations on the council side, and I'm happy to help there as well. And we'll start here. I'm going to give it over to Sierra to take us through what we were able to accomplish last quarter, and then I'll jump in and talk about the quarter ahead and even just a little sneak peek into the first year into next year. With that, I'll let you get right into this here.
All right, Q3, July through September, we held the inaugural Milwaukie Fest. And the economic development connections that we wanted to highlight from this successful event were the many local businesses that were both sponsors and active participants. Not only were they leading jazzercise in the middle of the square, but they were also donating electricity to their storefronts, as well as the fact that foot traffic was moving all the way from Historic City Hall all the way down to the South Downtown Plaza for the entire day. And we will also be looking to get feedback from businesses in a Q4 survey, which just we'll touch on in our future activities, where we ask about how events have impacted businesses and how they would like to get involved in events going forward. So speaking of this survey, thank you, Councilor Staffen. I took lots of what you had given us via email and infused some of our other city needs into it. So we have a draft survey that is ready to go out. And so it'll talk about our business friendliness to get a metric. That's one of the metrics that is on our council work plan. We don't have a baseline for, so it will help us get that baseline as well as be able to measure improvements to business friendliness. As well as on this work plan, we have a business license code update. So it'll ask questions along the lines of what would you like to see this meeting go towards? Should it be measured based on employee count or gross receipts, so on and so forth. And then those needs and opportunities are where I'm really leaning on what your input was to kind of measure the health of our business community. And then, of course, the first part, which is the journal info, just to help us understand those patterns and trends for specific cohorts of businesses. And so I'm thinking, and I'll get your input on this, maybe January launch after the busy holiday season, but more to come there.
And how will you, maybe that's on your next.
No, I don't think it is. They have parts to the grant.
Yeah, how will you get it out to people and how will you,
Yeah, we have a pretty good email list for the business license info already. So probably going to start there, see how that goes, and then maybe do another round of in-person if I'm noticing some big gaps in geographic areas and things like that.
And one thing the chamber has said a lot is they would like to see funds from our business registration go towards chamber membership. Will that be a component of the business license question, or? That
will be a part of the conversation. I know that's something we had told the chamber when we had that discussion with them, that that's when we revisit that conversation.
The mayor and I had a conversation with Jones about that. So good.
And I think there's a question for us, right, about is the chamber, there's the chamber, there's the business of Milwaukie, there's DAM.
Yeah.
Do we favor one over another, or do we, do we have money out of it to give to one?
And this is connected to our broader update of the business license code that we are working on. Right now, our business registration or business license code is written very much from a revenue perspective, and we're undertaking a process to look at that and update that and bring that to you. So I think these conversations and feedback can be pulled into that conversation.
Yeah, the hope is that we'll get feedback from the businesses that'll be what kind of value do they want to see the registration dollars be used for. And so then we'll give you that input or that feedback so that you all can make a decision on what that might be, whether it's funding our business associations, one or the other, or if that's not even something we do with those dollars. So, but we'll find out more.
And that's or from the chamber, what would that actually go to?
I think that's
I mean, is it part of their advocacy? Is it part of their?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, it's also their payroll, keeping people and maintaining what they have right now.
I think
Part of
specifically
it.
just buying a business's membership dues, and then the dues can be spent on what
Or writing them down. I mean, I don't think we'd ever be in a position to probably pay the full dues, because that's like $400 a year per business, but maybe $100. I mean, that's kind of the ask he brought to us, was $100 buy down of, to get people to have a lower dues in the door. I mean, I think they had, in COVID, they got a lot of business relief dollars, and, and all of that's gone now. And so they're really struggling to keep staff. Yeah.
And to the mayor's point, as you're asking the question, I'd be curious to ask in a way, if you were to join a membership organization for your business, more interested in DAM, chamber, all of the above, but I think that might be helpful data as we pick. Yes.
I agree with that. I think there are businesses who choose not to be a part of the chamber because of their advocacy and policies, or not policies necessarily, but like their stances, their platform. So that, I think that would be really valuable information to gather from local businesses. Or if we supplement membership, then would the city be involved in, that conversation about stances?
I think it would be. I mean, I don't know all of the chamber's stances on policies and everything like that. I would be concerned about some of those. We, as a council, would object to, significantly subsidizing.
And honestly, we have had talks at the chamber about when the legislator was in session. And I wrote down some of those bills that they were opposing and advocating for. And I'm sure overall, we probably wouldn't have a majority on council that would necessarily agree with their stances on this. There's another thing to think about as well.
I'm glad you're at that table.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we mentioned a couple of these concerns too when we met with, I think the mayor, I think you actually brought up that stances on legislation being a thing, and then also Sarah and I were talking about really the difference here for our chamber is that it's a regional chamber, right, versus a very city specific tied to our boundaries. So there's also the question of if the city is providing funds, how do we make sure that that's really coming back to just the city, not just to a much larger network of businesses that are beyond us. That's how we value participate as well. It's very important and things of that nature. So we ask some of those questions.
Okay. The other thing on our work plan this last quarter was to prep the grant launch for the next round. So I wanted to walk you through some of kind of the roadmap of what led us to today, which the grants are launched. They launched October 1st. So it started with Joseph and I doing some reflecting on the last round of the grant program. We had a little mini retreat and some probing questions to make us think about what needed to be changed. And from there, we wanted to storytell about the past success that we already had with the grant program. So we had a pilot article go out in August, which highlighted Giving Cafe and Luna's Ice Cream. And then we had to do some of the behind the scenes work, just updating some of the application materials, as well as updating the web page to include an FAQ page now, as well as a page highlighting the past grantees. And then from there, I started outreach, which started with in-person engagement at the Downtown Alliance Milwaukie and the chamber meeting, announcing the launch of the grant program. And then I connected with our partner organizations to have them send out the grant announcement in their newsletters. So that went out in Dan's newsletter, Chamber's newsletter for that local reach, and then also some regional business organizations, MISO and Livelihood Northwest, reach more of the regional business owner audience. And then we sent out a direct email to the businesses that are in the eligible areas, announcing announcing the program. And then in November, we have another pilot article going out saying that the grant program is now available. Apply now. And next in November as well, I'm going to the NDAs to talk about the placemaking grant, which is a new grant program this year, because they would be eligible applicants and probably good contenders for that grant as facilitators of placemaking. And so we already have had 11 applications since launching on October 1st. And we have about 13 interested parties on top of that that are working on applications or looking for properties in order to apply. And that over 550,000 already requested out of the URA funds, and then 25,000 requested out of the CET funds, with much more to come.
So are you saying that some of these are businesses in waiting that don't have a storefront?
Yeah, we get inquiries a lot about people asking what storefronts are available. They want to open up a bakery and they want to take advantage of these grant funds, connect them with property owners. So there's been quite a bit of interest in that, yeah.
Pretty incredible. I just shout out this year and how much work she's put into this. She's really made it much more professional than I could have, and really doing a great job with outreach and getting the queue. I think Councilor Massey, I think you even asked when we came back to council asking for more money, you're like, is there enough? Is $1 million too much almost? Like, do we have a market? It's only been 7 days and I'm $500,000 already. It's only 7 days. And so I was talking to Sierra today, I'm like, that's, we're gonna be going through it pretty fast.
Okay. And then also on our to-do list was to formalize the bike rack request form. So that is now live. We have a form under economic development, doing business, and bike racks. And last time we came in, we showed you that picture on the left, which was us scoping the bike racks outside of frame, and now right. And if you walk by it, you can see that those bike racks have been installed.
You guys want me in here or wait outside?
It's in here.
Yeah, it's open. It's an open meeting. Come on in. You're way early, but
Better pick early than late. So I'll be quite over.
One of our tasks we started, but is ongoing, is web page refinement. So those are two of the web pages I already mentioned, which are the FAQs and the past grantees, about 3 web pages, and the bike rack request form. But there's still more to be done, updating some of our data pages, and maybe just removing some more content. But the new launch of the website really took care of a good chunk of this. But the time is ripe now that the new website is here.
Yeah, if you ever do find out-of-date information, let us know. Try to get to it soon. There's a lot of out-of-date information.
there's some out of date and there's some missing information. That's what I find more than I run a search and it wants to call up a page and that page isn't there anymore. So, yeah.
Okay. And then we were tasked with starting the discussion around the marketing and branding strategy. This is also ongoing. We are going to incorporate a bit of this in the business engagement survey, as well as continue having SWAG discussions with our Revitalize committee, which is our internal committee. And then we also just did our film on Sunday, the ICMA film that Emma was talking about, which will be a really huge piece of this branding strategy of rebranding Milwaukie as not Portland's younger sibling.
Yeah, we're hoping to use that video, which will be, there'll be a long version, a short version, and we'll have plenty of B-roll to use however we like, but it's really helped tell a story about Milwaukie in a number of different angles as far as the place. It's really for the attraction piece of economic development. There's the retention piece, which is trying to keep folks in business and staying here, and there's the expansion piece, which is helping those that are doing well continue to grow here. And then there's the attraction piece, which is kind of the white whale of things. People always think about it first, but it's really the hardest. And really, it's really a lot of work for very little, because to get somebody to come to your city, it takes a huge move from access, resources, everything, versus continuing to supply folks with resources here to grow and become bigger. So I say all that because it's that piece that we've kind of put to the side, because we've been focused on really building the economy here for those that are already here. And so this will be kind of the third component of traditional economic development.
And the universe smiled down on us and gave us the most beautiful day on Sunday to film this. So I don't know who would watch that movie and not want to come to Milwaukie. We were down at the waterfront. It was perfect. And yeah, we're excited to share that with you. It will debut at ICMA on the 25th of this month. And then
Okay, so that is it for the Q3 updates, so I'll pass it.
So moving forward, just things that we'll look at the next couple months moving forward. Main Street CIP. So we have just got the charter up on the internal side, and we're talking with all the directors and all the project team about what's likely going to be in that scope. Once we finalize that and get some idea on the costs and where the funds could come from, we do intend to daylight it to you all so you kind of see what that whole project is going to look like when it comes to Main Street. It's still probably a year or two out from actually breaking ground, so which I think is quite frankly good. I was kind of upset on how long it might take to get to breaking ground for that project, but also it's going to be massive disruption for downtown. It's going to be massive disruption for Main Street. We're already doing a lot of updates for facades and storefronts and things of that nature, so at least let things settle, stabilize, and then hopefully try to figure out a way to build out that project and doesn't probably block at a time so it doesn't disrupt all of downtown all at the same time.
So when you talk about the scope of that, I mean, I assume we're talking about replicating the one block that was done, and how far up and down Main Street we're going to be able to do that, or is there something more to it?
Good question. It's basically going to be from this block that we're currently sitting all the way down to the south downtown plaza. And it's going to incorporate more than what occurred at the mayor's talking about T. Clapper's Mall block outside that one side of the street. It'll encompass parts of that, but we're also looking at there's water infrastructure that is very, very old in downtown that needs to get replaced. There's some sewer work, some stormwater work. But there's also kind of the cooler side of these things. It's electrical and plumbing, so that the trees have, there's plumbing and there's water irrigation for not just the trees, but also for like other types of enhancements that we want to do with vegetation. There's also
baskets, Christmas.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, electricity for Christmas lights on trees and or holiday lights and
And is it burying the wires?
yeah. Obviously, electrical, yeah.
This project's price tag's gone. Woo, 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 woo. So we're working on it, but
Joseph, how long did the existing project take?
To when construction or like actually getting there? Construction was about 3 to 4 months, I believe, like heavy construction. There was the punch list that kind of occurred, the cleanup afterwards. This will be,
So how many of those do we have to replicate in this project?
yeah, I think 6.
So this is like a year-and-a-half project.
Yeah, and there'll be more detail in the future. Going off of what I think I
yeah, we'll talk more about that in the upcoming CIP conversations with you all about budget development.
The other thing we have in Q4 is hubs and corridors conversation. This is rolled into the residential high density conversation that we're having next month. So we'll also talk about hubs and corridors and how that will be scoped. So more of the planning side of things, the URA action plan update. So if you're not familiar, the action plan right now is a 5-year plan, and then it's coming close to its useful life. So reinitiating with the MERCAC, the advisory committee, to talk about what the action plan should be for the next 5 years, what the priorities are from that perspective, and any things that we haven't covered already that we need to focus on. So we'll be starting that work, as well as market analysis for hubs. This might be this full disclosure. This might initiate in Q4, but it most likely might get immediate move to Q1 of next year. Trying to do this in-house as much as possible, and there's just a few of us. is really good at this stuff. And she's done it before as a consultant, so I would love to take advantage of that versus using others. So it's just kind of capacity wise, but we'll see where we get. And then finally, the citywide grant, CET dollars. That's launched, so you can actually check that launch.
Yeah.
And then just a sneak peek at Q1, kind of refining that housing corridor scope, clarify more of what that will look like. As we discussed a little bit earlier, we'll start really diving into the business tax code or business license code. What that will look like. We'll hopefully have some more information about the values from our business community and how that might drive some of that code language. And then finally, we'll revisit Harrison and Maine. That conversation will come back. And I'm not sure what that date will be at that point. Just that we put it on the forecaster that we come back and touch base with Metro, touch base with you all.
Just a quick note on that, if you haven't noticed, in the forecaster, we added a column. So if an agenda item has a connection to a goal, it's noted there with some pretty funny acronyms like AF and ED and EG, but you can figure it out. Economic development, affordability, parks and open space.
Oh, I'm sorry, can you go back? Okay.
That's it from the staff side. If there's more questions, happy to answer them now. And then we can move to council conversation, discussion side of things.
No, please.
A question on some of the metrics that we're tracking. One of them is downtown foot traffic. And I know that one conversation that I've had with some folks on PSAC is they really want to have some type of like hardware to be able to track the effectiveness of the systems that they're implementing. Is that, like, how do we get that number? And are there tools that we could purchase as a city to be able to have a pedestrian count in our downtown, on some of our streets?
Yeah.
Hardware would be a different story.
Okay.
We have a software access that gets us like more broad geographic numbers. So we have the downtown number right now in there of up to 2024, from 2018 to 2024, of how those numbers have changed over the years of downtown out-of-market visitors through Placer AI. But if you wanted like that physical hardware, like counting bicyclists or whatever.
Yeah, so Placer AI is essentially, it's using cell phone data. You give it like a geofence around an area that you want to get some data for, and then it provides you the interactions of the cell phone data and where it came from. So it actually will tell you where people's movements came from. So if we're getting regional visitors from Southwest Portland, that's like where everyone comes from, we can get that, see a little bit of that. As far as, like on the ground, quick data, it's like.
I bet we own some tube counters. I will look into that. So
Just armadillos.
yeah, it's there are various hardware interventions that we can use for traffic counting. I'm also sure in the day of AI, there's probably more creepy camera ones you can use too.
Yeah.
So that's a great, we can follow up with engineering and get back to you.
Okay, because I know folks at Dan had also said they would want some type of pedestrian count, but I don't know the difference then between laser versus a camera that just says there's a foot going by.
Yeah, we should, yeah.
Well, I mean, there are trail counters that parks districts use all the time, right?
Yeah.
They're really pretty simple and they're not very expensive. I don't know. Because I think Placer, you don't know that you've counted a person twice, right? They've come in their car. If you're doing it on cell phone data, they've come in their car, but then they've walked 4 blocks. They've been counted twice, sort of thing. I mean, you don't know that with a trail counter either. But
Yeah, it's, I think what maybe be helpful is we'll pull some, like a day and a time and give you a sense of what it can do and what it looks like.
So but on the transportation side, I can see what we already have or have used to.
We'll check.
So the Placer data, that's a database that you have access to, but then if we wanted to look at specific, periods of time or month to month or year to year or something, then we would have to come up with a query and ask you to provide the data.
I think we can get there.
Yeah, we have year to year right now.
2025. Okay, well, already,
And it goes back how far? Is it-
I think it's 2018.
Yeah, I think that would be really interesting to see.
We aren't above pre-pandemic yet, but we are, it has been increasing the last 3 years.
Did you say the citywide grants were already launched? They are, yeah.
Everyone.
Talking about data, I don't know if it's gonna have this kind of, so I was at the LOC conference and I have like 25 pages of notes, but, they were talking in one of the sessions I went to about, a system called My Sidewalk. Are you guys familiar with that?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember why it's different, or which.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna have that kind of info, but the one thing they called out that it has that I think would be very interesting to know is it has eviction data.
Really?
So yeah, it can show you your hotspots of where, I mean, it's, they were talking larger metro areas probably, but they were showing how you could see hotspots of where evictions are happening.
Pretty good for our affordability. That's one of the data points we're struggling.
So yeah, it came up in there and, yeah, anyway, I just wanted to bring it up. I wasn't clear, I was gonna try and go online and look at it, but, to see what else it had. I mean, it sounded like it had a fair amount of urban area data.
I wonder if that might also be a data set you can get from the sheriff's office, since they would be involved in serving evictions.
Oh, yeah.
And that information, they could probably just export something that you could put into GIS.
That's a good idea. We thought about the county, we did not think about the sheriff. That's a great idea. That's where My Sidewalk probably pulls it from somewhere. So
Yeah, that's probably where they're pulling from.
And they would have more accurate data, so like the serving of the eviction versus the actual court. Because some things are diverted before they go to court. So it would give you the raw data.
Both. Got 2 minutes. All right, anything else for staff?
Well, my thing was going to be more, I guess, for both. Because I spoke to the owner of Great American on the east side. And he brought up some interesting things. He knew about the grants.
Yeah.
He just hasn't had a second to sit down and actually see what's required. So I'm hoping that maybe we on the city side, we can kind of reach out to some of these business owners that may not have that are interested, but may not be able to get the time to sit down and actually see what's required and provide the information needed. But some of the things he talked about in terms of barriers was with potential landlords and doing some of the stuff and not knowing if, who benefits from that. And
Like doing an improvement?
yeah, doing it, that's his concern, right? Is doing an improvement to the point where, like he'd love to put solar, but there's no incentive on our behalf from the city. And then he's like, well, who gains more out of that? Is it the landlord who owns the property and I'm just renting from them? Or do I actually get something out of that too? And, like those are some of the concerns with even applying for the grant is like where, what gets him the most bang for his buck. And, he had some concerns with bigger organizations or groups getting grants to do restoration projects, like for example, the mall. Because I guess that's going to get redone, but it's going to get rented out at an astronomical price per square foot. I think he told me $27 a square foot. So he's like, that prices out any local business and only like corporate type and those chains can really pay for something like that. Because he was thinking of having an extension down in downtown.
Yeah.
That's what the price he gave. And he was saying how it's just kind of odd. The city's trying to promote economic development and help small businesses, but then you get a bigger group like that who probably doesn't necessarily need that money to do some remodeling to keep it what it is, and then in turn price people out who may want to rent, and their local businesses can't afford the rent that they're going to charge for that. So he just said it's kind of
I hear the concern, and I think it's the gentrification.
right. Right.
That's what I'm hearing. I'll say about that project specifically is it's the local developer does need the money, got state grant dollars, and the people that I know are moving in are all local, small time, mom and pop shops. So
Well, that's good.
yeah, but I think the
The perception.
perception is a little different than what's really happening. But I think I hear the issue underneath the.
Yeah. And then just the incentives for just businesses in general. I mean, he was talking more about his specifically, but like I saw his energy bill, and his electric bill is $1,373 for 1 month. And it's lovely how PGE puts our franchise fee on there, because they put City of Milwaukie tax. So he's like, you guys are taxing. I'm like, I'm explaining how that works, and a $300 million net profit doesn't necessarily mean you have to collect that. But again, that's, how to bring his energy bill down, and we're trying to do sustainability. He's like, I can't raise my prices fast enough to keep up with what's going on. And, those are some tough conversations, but that need to be had, because I don't, like, what we're doing is great, but I also want to make sure that we're addressing those type of root issues, because those issues are really what causes the gentrification and causes small business like that to have to shutter. And so, some of those concerns really worried me, and just I've seen his electric bill is insane. And he's like, I'd love to put solar, but there's no incentive for us to do anything, right? And then dealing with the landlords, they're not bad landlords, but again, he's like, what happens if they kick me out? And then I did all that, and I don't get the benefit of it.
This is the coffee shop video place?
Yeah.
Regarding them, I would just also bring up a little bit different issue, but still about sustainability of businesses is, I think he and some of those other businesses in that center are going to be very concerned about the King Road project.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Because they had a really bad experience with the county on the county's stretch of Linwood. It dragged on and on and on. And so I heard from them then. I was sort of like, it's not a city project, So I just wanted to flag that. And I know you and I also spoke with the gas station who's worried about the access.
Yeah. We landed in a good spot.
Okay,
There's not going to be any reduction in access.
okay, good.
I mean, yes, the King Road project's going to, they're definitely concerned.
There's a session at the conference we're going to this week on energy savings for small businesses that I'll be attending on Friday. I think we don't have Friday sessions. So if I learn anything at that session, that would be helpful. Good job.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd like to try to connect them with the grant stuff before money is wiped out. So I'm sure they can.
Well, I was
do
going
that.
to say, and I wonder if they're eligible for like any of the electrification. I mean, are they heating that building with electric? And if so, are they eligible for any like heat pump upgrades or things that would bring that bill down?
That's a good question. I know he wanted to do, like, one of the things he wanted to do potentially with the grant money was kind of what some of the businesses downtown are doing with the windows, replacing, because he's like, a lot of heat comes in from that.
Yeah,
and then, he's got to keep the ice cream cold, so that's producing heat. And he's like, it sometimes gets 80 something degrees in here. We got to keep it comfortable or else people aren't going to come in, so it's like that issue. And, those type of costs. He did mention the water bill. That's pretty heavy on him too. So, just kind of, I know these are tougher conversations, but I do think these are conversations that we talked about doing roundtables and things like that. I think these are conversations that have to be had, because that's really the line between them surviving and them.
I'm hoping too that we get some of the feedback we get from the survey, provide some more of that, and then also your work.
I mentioned that.
Just as a little peek into the day-to-day life of your hardworking staff, I think it's really awesome. Sierra, Gabriella, who's our equity and inclusion coordinator, and Katie Guevara is our climate and natural resources manager, have formed. I think your acronym is SEED, Sustainability, Equity, and Economic Development, and the SEED, mighty SEED team meets frequently, but I think this is a perfect example, and I appreciate you sharing it, Counselor, because there's maybe opportunities here for, Katie may not have known that this was a business looking to plug in for those sustainability resources, and she could connect them via Sierra. So, please keep sharing these kinds of things that you hear, because
absolutely.
we can connect the dots on the internal side.
It's not a secret society.
Sorry. He said it's a secret society.
It's public record.
I did go to Stronger too. I didn't get a chance to speak with the owner, but I did let the person that was there know about the grants and stuff. So I think that'd be a good conversation with them too. Yeah, no, I mean, thank you guys. I'm not, just go over there. You guys are doing all the analysis and stuff.
We're in it for the ice cream.
And I didn't even get any. I had my, that's what I wanted. I was like, no, screw McDonald's. Yeah, I just right by my house, and then I walked out and I was like, I don't have time to go back in. So I'll stop by if we get out of here early enough.
Okay with that? Yeah. Well, speaking of that, Councilor Koster-Barty's point, what's the displacement grants? Because I know we were renaming them, but would that be helpful here too, or?
Not for like that issue with the new businesses moving in with those astronomical rents, but for the businesses that have been in for 2 or more years, it was renamed. We have 2 clients signed up right now for it. So they're meeting with the consultants this Friday. So we'll get to learn how effective that is after these.
Nice.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be an option. And we've had people reach out about being also consultants for small businesses in the community. So we've been in discussion about maybe after this grant program and what the survey says, we'll hear from the businesses about launching more consultant opportunities, because our current consultants are really focused on design consultation. So maybe some of the businesses might need more marketing, energy upgrades, things like that. So maybe having a handful of consultants we can launch.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, if there are no questions of staff, I'll hand it over to Councilor Stavanger to kind of talk about the quarter's work council.
Well, this is a tag team sport because Council President and I were tasked with reaching out to some of the URA grantees and had some times set up, and that ended up being the same week that 2 of our 3 HVAC systems went out. And I was not able to attend. And so I'm just really grateful that you were there and that you had an opportunity to reach out and talk with folks. And I'm curious to hear what you had, the conversations that you had there as well.
I've got a few notes. There were some really good conversations, and I think a lot of the questions that you all are going to use were the basis for the questions that I've sat down and asked folks. So getting a lot of the same questions again and again. But we sent out a call to action to all the folks who got the URA grant, asked them to sit down. We've got 2 more folks who have reached out, so we potentially have a few more coming in weeks to come. I'd say some themes that we heard for long-time businesses. I think that there's a pervasive sense that Milwaukie is in this renaissance. I've heard people say, like, we were struggling for years and just now do we feel like there's hope. And these grants really recognize or like symbolize to folks a new lead with the city. And so I think even like the impact of the grant alone on the business, what it meant to these people was really, really powerful to see. I think one thing that people mentioned is the new growth in our downtown, both with commercial space, but also I heard a lot of folks mention the new apartments downtown, just gets good foot traffic. Chance was talking about how excited they are for the new Pietro's site to be more apartments, hoping that this north downtown becomes more of a pedestrian area. I'm a client.
It's a party foul, man.
I know. We heard, interestingly, multiple folks mentioned signage. They wanted a sign for their business. And I know that for like Pietro's, their sign has been such an important part of their identity. And I do think that maybe there's a conversation about what our sign code looks like, or placemaking, or I don't know exactly what the fix is there. One business mentioned that they would like to see how Bend has kind of these signs that show where you can go in their downtown. We have that a little bit at the light stop. There are other spots where we can do signs and placemaking to guide people through our downtown. Especially, this is something Chance mentioned. If you're in the corners of our downtown, it can be hard to find you. So what are the placemaking things we can do to get people to every part of that? Related to that, Rebecca and I are advocating. Dan is doing that passport system, so they'll print out people passports. And Rebecca and I are hoping to give them some funds to do that. And it should be really fun. All the businesses are giving different discounts. Dan has really gone above and beyond to coordinate this amongst different businesses. So hopefully you have an incentive as a consumer to go, not just to Freem or the beer store to get your drink and head on out. You're actually going to be going to a bunch of different shops. So I think that is an opportunity, some good stuff there. I heard mixed reviews about events. Some people said that like First Friday is great, especially now that it's moving location or like block to block to block. But I think some people have said it didn't drum up this business that we wanted. So are there interesting things we can do to make sure that people coming to our events are going to businesses? The flip side, I heard from Ovation that they're Giving Cafe now, that since they were starting up when we had Milwaukie Fest, it was like such a great time, and it really like let them capitalize on this movement. So I think that people really, really appreciate the events. Those are some of the specifics, but overall, I think people were just really grateful for the city program. It speaks volumes to the work that both of you have done to get this buy-in from businesses. And I think that business friendliness score that we're trying to achieve, like this to a lot of businesses showed that Milwaukee's serious about helping you out. And there just was a lot of thanks for that.
Yeah, definitely. I would add to the passports, Spoken Word did Where's Waldo this summer, and that brought in so many people because they were, the kids were on this hunt to find Waldo, and they went to each participating business. So I think in some of these situations where business owners are really, really busy during the day and they want to take advantage of these opportunities, but maybe miss the deadline, or, the flyer gets handed in to somebody at the front desk and doesn't make it to the right person or something. It's almost like, maybe having like a phone tree for businesses, or a phone, an email tree or something like that, that activates downtown a bit. I mean, there are some businesses that are in the like the downtown core that have a text thread and have been sharing information about, like things that, somebody got into the back of our building and stuff was just like all over the place. And so then another business texted me that morning and said like, hey, I just saw this on my way in, let me know if you need help. And then, it's just, there's some really neat community building that's happening on a grassroots level. And so I don't know, it feels really great. The activation that Dan has been doing around like the passports, and now there's the window contests for the businesses that I think, so have you all heard about this? I think it started out just being sort of winter holiday windows, but now it's Halloween too.
Yes.
And so people are leaning way in, and we're not the only ones. But a lot of businesses, we are participating. But yeah, I mean, that's bringing some fun into, and some togetherness. And I think that has brought some joy. There are, I don't know, I just have to like double down on the placemaking and how important that is. I mean, I don't know how many times a day I serve as like the visitor's guide for someone who's newer to Milwaukee or, doesn't know how to get to Maiden Milwaukee or doesn't know that the bookstore is right next door, doesn't know, about Mamas and Hapas or the other vintage store at the other end of town and all this stuff. And so people, I don't know, it's almost like if we had something that we could just hand out to people to say like, hey, welcome to Milwaukee. Here's some information about, where you can go and you can find food at these different locations, or you can find music in these other different locations. I think something like that would be really helpful.
Kind of like a map like Disneyland.
We had one. So when Layla was here, we had a map of the downtown businesses, and it was a fold up that you could pick up, but it was also posted on that little kiosk by the light rail station. And of course, we used to have a kiosk in front of the old city hall. So, I mean, there's a place to start to update. And the question is, who then keeps it updated, right?
And how
How often do you reprint and all of that? I mean, I think there are some questions, but maybe there's a thing, maybe the city could do a refresh of it, and then DAM could take over periodic updates or something. Maybe there's a way to partner.
As an analog person, I love a physical map, but I also think something that's physical and maybe has a QR code that takes you to an online map, and I don't know, you're a new GIS coordinator that I love to give work to. Seems like that could be a great project, so.
I think DAM is working on something like that,
Okay,
but like,
Nice.
I don't know the timeline for it to be rolled out.
cool.
Okay.
There's some really cool GIS functionality too, like a story map would be amazing for downtown. Because then you just click on one thing and it pulls up this, like you get to see pictures of the building and you get to see, like this is what you can find there.
That's cool.
You can also include historical, pieces about downtown and about other, the hubs and all of that kind of stuff. That would be really cool.
I think, Ken is working on things like this. So Rob at Milwaukie has been a window cleaned with like a QR code to put in businesses' storefronts. And on their new website, which they have Sapphire as their big website person, the map will be applicable.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So I think some of these things could be integrated.
Okay. And if I'm remembering right, and this is like from several meetings ago, maybe but that's something that they are going to be asking businesses to provide the content, right? So you have to sign up to be like on the map.
Back in January when we met, and that was part of that conversation.
Okay.
They've been very forward with going around downtown though, and like having this sign up for things, helping them sign up. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was a part of their work.
Okay.
The window and decorations and the last work.
Yeah.
We're very happy.
Yeah. Well, going back to our conversation about the chamber, I would much rather part of my business registration fee go to some of the things that are creating that grassroots homegrown connection to Milwaukee than a regional advocacy organization. Unless, of course, there's some greater interface with that advocacy organization and the goals that we have locally.
Even a rainy day fund for businesses. So if you get a $1,400 electric bill and you're short, you don't have to struggle to make ends meet. You can get some grant assistance. Put some of that registration fee aside.
That sounds something.
That's good.
Just to keep us on track, so that's the previous grantees. Thank you all, and I think the business community thanks you all for the recapitalization grant program in the URA and obviously going citywide. It really is. I hope like Sierra and I, yes, we've been part of the development and then implementation and whatnot, but you all, please take so much ownership over that. The downtown is shifting because of you all saying yes to something. It's really important. And that's why going out to the businesses and saying, hey, hello, how'd that go? Is actually really powerful and meaningful for them to connect with the decision makers. We were at the LOC conference last week. Over and over again, speakers were talking about like counselors don't understand their power all the time. don't understand how, they might think they're just like a normal person, but the truth is you carry a representatively wherever you go. So just like saying hi, and as a counselor, as the mayor, as council president, it's meaningful. So I just had to say thank you, and I know that part of this conversation is also Councilor Massey, and the mayor went to, a couple other businesses in the industrial areas, and those went. I want to step on Rebecca or Councilor Savage.
I'm super curious.
Okay, we decided to prioritize two businesses in an international way as a place to start. As you knew, like a year and a half ago, or whatever, we spoke with Megan, who came to our council. So we met with the new CEO of Oregon Tool a week or 10 days ago. And then today I met, Robert was unavailable, but I met with the CEO and CFO of marquee companies. And I'll just say my takeaway from all three is that they're not going anywhere. They're pretty happy where they are. They all came here from Portland. They started as small businesses in Portland. Like Oregon Tool started in a guy's garage making, chainsaws. They might have moved once or twice in Portland, but they've been here for some decades, and they like where they are. They have different challenges, but nobody's really that worried about tariffs, which I thought was very interesting. Oregon Tool, marquee companies, for those who companies operates senior assisted living facilities, rehab facilities, and then they also have a separate business line that is pharmacy services to 700 assisted living and senior living facilities across the country. They have 4,000 employees nationwide. They have 175 in their office on International Way. Do you have, Oregon Tool has, I don't remember the number. 2,500
That's
globally.
worldwide.
Yeah.
The reason that they're not too worried about tariffs is that they manufacture in important locations. And so, but interestingly, the CEO grew up in Milwaukie.
Went to Rex Putnam.
Went to Rex Putnam. Now, we'll give him a bye in the Happy Valley. But he said that the vast majority of those working at the International Way location live within a couple miles of there. I will digress a little bit, and I love origin stories. And so they started business in 1947.
Like that.
And there was this lumberjack whose last name was Cox, C-O-X. I can't remember his first name. And basically when, timber gets infested with the timber beetle, lumber beetle, whatever it is, they just take it over. So they have to get in and harvest the tree immediately if they're going to need anything out of it. And he was just curious one time about how these little beetles can wreak such havoc on these big trees. And he sort of dissected beetles. And its beak, and he examined how, its snout and everything like that tore the wood apart and was so efficient at destroying the tree. And he said, I think I can make a chainsaw do that. A chain that mimicked that. And that's the origin story of Oregon Tool. So they make these bars and tools. They don't build a chainsaw. They just build the front end. The bar and chainsaw for virtually every manufacturer in the United States. The only people who build their own are in Europe, and that's still in Husqvarna. So, their business is as a supplier to those OEMs.
Very cool.
And they have two other products. That's their big product line, 70% of their business. They also make a kind of under a name called Woods, they make a kind of a mower attachment that like a brush hog thing that goes behind a tractor and does the flat ones that you see along the highway and stuff mowing. And then they had, this was my takeaway story, they have a line of tools for cutting concrete. And like, I guess before, like concrete was typically cut in with a circular saw, they have an actual like blade that cuts concrete. And so it is useful for things that the circular saw would just chew up. And the thing that was really cool that they were involved in is the restoration of Notre Dame. Their saws cut out the gargoyles on the blocks they were on so that they could be lifted out and then put back in. Wow. Yeah.
But they're more precise than anything else.
That's incredible.
Got a really fine, straight line, and they're a lot safer than circular saws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome.
And the bugs can do that too? They can cut it that clean?
I'm not sure if bugs are real good at cleaning, but
That's crazy how they modeled it after that though. That's pretty, wow, that's unique.
I will say we asked them questions about their challenges filling positions and retaining employees. Got very different answers. For Marquis, it's all about the shortage of nurses, and they work with all the community colleges, they even have 2 colleges in Mexico they work with, trying to get more trained nurses. There's really a deficit of nurses, and I had never heard before, we always hear about how Oregon ranks near the bottom in mental health capacity. Oregon is the lowest nurses per capita of any state. Which really surprised me, but yes, that's what he said. He did say the Oregon Board of Nursing, when he first got in this business in the late 80s, was very much like wanting to keep the number of nurses low because that kept wages high. But now, especially after COVID, the head of the Oregon Board of Nursing is much more about building capacity in the schools to produce more. Yes.
Do you think that the onset of travel has had an impact on that?
We talked about that. They definitely think, they went off on how bad policy that whole traveling nurse thing. And they do feel like it's not such an issue anymore, which I know from, at least from anecdotally, from a couple people who are renting rooms to the traveling nurses, that they're not coming in the numbers they were a few years ago.
Why?
I don't know. I think hospitals, I don't know. I mean, I would just be speculating. But I mean, I think there was this, our nurses go to Oregon and then Oregon's nurses go to Hawaii. And then, there's sort of this hospitals coming to a realization, and it makes your own employees who stay very unhappy because you're paying these traveling nurses a lot more, right? So I think maybe hospitals recognize that it had more downsides than upsides. Anyway, I have a lot of notes, but I will just highlight a couple of things. He called out, first one I've heard is he called out an interest in having a hotel in Milwaukie. He said that when they have business visitors, they stay at the hotels out along 205, and he doesn't feel like they're all that nice. And he was interested in having a nicer, boutique style hotel in Milwaukie. He said he thought only 10% of their employees live in Milwaukie. I mean, and this was all sort of just guess. But he said 80% of their employees are within a 15-minute drive. Now, the CEO and CFO, who are brothers, live in Wilsonville and Westlake, so they're not necessarily within a 15-minute drive. Neither of them, when I asked about transit and childcare and whether those were barriers to attracting and retaining employees, it didn't seem to be on the radar screen of either one as a big barrier, but they both both at Oregon Tool and at Marquis sort of said, I have to talk to the HR people to really know. But they did not perceive, it had not bubbled up to them that either of those issues was a barrier for their employees. Although the guy at Oregon Tool did tell me that he says, I come in early and I see employees arriving by Uber.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he did acknowledge that there's a gap that, TriMet's not filling. Yeah, anything else?
Just, we kind of asked if there was any interest on the part about business roundtables, and the Oregon Tool CEO was really, quite honest. He says, my business is not like the businesses down here. And so he said, I want to succeed, I want to be helpful, but I'm not sure we have a lot in common. And so he kind of likes to network with the guys next door at Megget who are, they're more manufacturing oriented, they're more, they have a lot more international business and everything like that. And he says he travels so much that he just, couldn't get to a regular meeting.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say that's the difference between a regular meeting or a one-off,
Yeah.
one-off kind of.
And
I mean, I thought he said he would try to participate if we convened a roundtable, and that's what the guys at Marquis said as well, that they would be happy to participate in something like that. But I think neither one of them probably saw much value in sort of some ongoing thing. And they did say that there isn't anything for the businesses along International.
They sort of had a, informal group, several of them, we just meet with Bob that was over for lunch and just say, how are things going? And it was kind of informal, and they figured out that they had some similar challenges, and they shared with how they were meeting those challenges, and it was just more of an informal benchmarking.
Yeah.
But they don't have a place that they can go nearby.
They both were happy to hear that we're looking at International Way to get some sidewalks,
Yeah.
to get some filling of the gaps in the sidewalks. So they were both happy to hear that. They both have, employees who walk or run on their lunch hour and things like that. Yeah, and they both have had relationships with Clackamas Community College. Sounds like on the Marquis side, Marquis side, it is, ongoing. I said, is there any messages? He's like, more nurses. He goes, oh, they know. I guess both the CEO and CFO have been the head of these Oregon healthcare associations and are very active on federal and state level healthcare associations. On the Oregon Tool side, they did say they're not in a hiring mode right now. They're not, in need of training, but if they were in a place where their production was going up in the hire, they would definitely community college about training programs. So let's see those ties. Yeah, so I think that's.
Open International.
So,
What do you think do you think that there would be similar trends for businesses that are in the NMIA? Or was there a reason that you didn't talk to anybody in that
we're just
area?
going down the list. I haven't got there yet.
Okay. All right, stay tuned.
And that might be a good, what's coming up next.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Good job. Thank you for reaching out to businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Roundtables, there we go.
Yeah, so this is for Q4 URA action plan refresh. That's things that staff will be driving for the most part and helping with.
So in my mind, I feel like your survey should go out before
I agree.
roundtables.
I agree. This might be something we.
I think so too.
But yeah,
Happy to move that to Q1. And in Q1, the Hudson corridors work, which we talked about on the staff side, so obviously there's connection there to you all, and then also talking about priority items. Part of
First of the year. And that is, I think, for the moment, yeah.
We have one economic development adjacent update.
Oh,
To
yes.
speak to. Before I do that, this is about Milwaukie Bay Park. Before I do that, are there any other questions for Joseph and Sierra?
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. I gotta say, I can't rave enough about these two and the work they do, and I think it's such a testament. 7 days, 6 days, the grant program's been open and already allocated over $500,000. It's great. But I also I'm tickled by how, like, this is what I think we envisioned, was moving forward goal work at 2 planes and owning it in both spaces. And it's really exciting to see. And I think the community sees it too. So we'll talk at our retreat next week about how we tell that story even more. But I'm just really excited to see it all happen and grateful for you all. And I'm taking little pieces of it. Okay, so it's been a little bit since we gave you an update on Milwaukie Bay Park. And
We apologize.
And typically, with the next Parks and Green Space update is not until the first meeting of November, and we didn't want to wait to give an update. As you know, Councilor Massey and Mayor Beatty have been kind of deputized by the council to be our negotiating representatives at the table with 2 members of the NCPRD Board of Directors, County Commission Chair Roberts, and Commissioner or Director Savis. And we have met, I think we're now on 6 times in the last 9 months. It's been a long 9 months of negotiation, starting all the way back to that letter we sent the first week of January asking to meet and get Milwaukie Bay Park back on track. We're frustrated that it's taken this long with this little to really share and discuss. And so I think we all wanted to just express that we wish we could have come back 2 months in, 3 months in with more substantive updates. And it's not for lack of trying, it's for a variety of reasons. We expressed that disappointment to the county at our last 2-on-2. Actually, we expressed it at our second to last one, and I think the message was received because your appointed representative basically said, we'll give you till October 1st to really come back with something more substantive, because we owe our constituents and we owe our colleagues an update. So we did meet then again on October 1st. More work, I think, had been done in those 9 days we've seen in many of the months beforehand. And some progress was made. So I'm going to speak in some kind of vague terms, and I apologize for that. And we welcome questions, and we'll be honest about what we can and can't answer. While I think there was a lot of skepticism, even a few days ago, that this was going to end somewhere productive, there have been some developments of the last few days that give us more confidence that we could have agreements ready for your review and potential adoption at your next meeting that achieve the goals that I believe you've set out related to Milwaukie Bay Park. So namely, delivering it on a near-term timescale, delivering it with equitable funding, and delivering it to the scope that was originally envisioned by the community. Again, I know I'm speaking in vague terms, but we hope to be able to share more at the next meeting and are appreciative of the work behind the scenes on their counterpart side to, I think, move this forward productively in the last several days. So we want to prepare you to come the October 21st meeting packet. We hope you will have things in there to review that move us forward. Mayor and Councilor, are there other messages you would like to share?
I'm going to take this opportunity to shut up.
Well, I'm going to take this opportunity to say that a couple of months of this delay, and I don't think I'm really speaking too much out of turn, but we did agree to look at the comprehensive IGA and not just the Milwaukie Bay Park IGA. And so a couple of months of this delay was a time when we, the electeds, weren't meeting, but Joseph and Kia were doing the negotiating. And I really want to thank Joseph and Kia for, coming to the table and having multiple meetings and working out those details that got to something that, at least on our side, we felt was close enough to schedule for, a potential meeting date. And we hope that will still be the case.
Yeah. Yeah, I will echo that. I do think Joseph and Kia have really moved this forward super productively. And as Councilor Mess says, none of this is for lack of effort, but a lot of effort trying to move some of these mountains. I also just want to acknowledge to anyone in the room and anyone listening, we also know our community is been waiting for this for over 5 years, and 10 months also feels like an exceptionally long time, and we completely see that. I really appreciate our electeds drawing very firm boundaries on we're not going to tolerate can kicking. So we've set some deadlines, and cautiously optimistic the county can meet those, and we'll have some things ready for your review in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, is it adoption or is it review? Or potentially both?
Potentially both. Potentially review and then adoption the following week, but potentially both.
We could slip into November, but
What would the timeline be for the county?
Set the same. We've set the same deadlines.
Well,
so.
How's that for a non-update?
Great job.
yeah, at first I didn't really know what was being said. I was like, I don't know.
What happened in his face? Yeah.
Yeah, I will say
Sounds good.
I'm a lot more optimistic today than I was on October 1st. So,
Yeah.
Good sign.
Okay. I don't think there's anything else to say about that. All right. Anything else on economic development? Anybody? Okay. Well, I guess we can move on to the Coho Point discussion, yeah?
Great.
So, Joseph stays there.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. There's no,
Slideshow for this one.
nope, it's just a discussion. I'm going to ask for you. Come on up. I'll just, more of your time with, I'll do quick intros. Council, this is part of the development disposition agreement we have with BlackRock Development. Reed is our developer that's working on the Coho Point project. We've had a number of activities and extensions occur over the last several years of this relationship. And we wanted to have Fareed come in and speak to you, answer your questions and concerns as we've been in this latest iteration coming out of FEMA, coming out of the Clomber. Where you see things going and otherwise.
Sounds good.
I'll give you, this is your time, so.
Thank you so much, Mayor, councilors. Good to meet you. Beautiful day. Sorry that we have to be here at the golf course. To kind of, I see a lot of new faces here. May I not go back from the beginning in 2017. This project was actually awarded to us. May 17th. Seems like a long time. And it's been a challenging project. The location of it, and the city always wanted to have a gateway to Milwaukie. That's what we tried to do. We had a lot of plans. Just give you a history. I've been doing business. I'm a dentist by trade. So developing used to be a site that's the United States. But I've been in Milwaukie since the 1995. We renovated that building in 1995, so I've been here for a long time. And I moved my practice to Milwaukie Marketplace because the plan was to demolish that building and start. So I hadn't been downtown Milwaukie for a while. It's nice to see the old city hall changed. I think it looks good. It seems like, I'm glad I was early. Heard a lot of good things. I do have major interests in Milwaukie. I've been here for, most of my life. So, this project is really important. We've had a few hiccups. And like Joseph mentioned, COVID was one of them. Clomar was one. I'm sure you're all familiar with Clomar. Clomar is a process that we have to take the land out of the floodplains. And it's a very important part because without doing so, there is no way you can get financed. And the insurance would be astronomical. So it's something that we needed to do. Supposedly, it takes 7 to 9 months. It took us 18 months, almost 2 years to do. The problem we're having right now is, in real estate, you always say location, location, location. That's true, but timing is also very important. Timing. Our timing is not very good. As we go through the city, which I always do, Bill and I were talking about this last week, there's only one creek that's operating right now in the city of Portland, and they're doing affordable housing phase 2 of the district. There is no development. And part of the problem we are having is it's multiple. Cost of construction has gone up through COVID. The prices went up, labor costs went up, prices of goods went up. The last project I did, we finished kind of middle of the COVID. The price of lumber went from like 600 to 1690. So those are the obstacles that we're dealing with. Cost of construction, cost of financing. It's totally changed. Last project I did, our construction loan was 3.7%. Now it's over 10%. The fact that we have a lot of crime in the city, not necessarily here, this kind of goes back to city of Portland because I do a lot of visits to city of Portland as well. The crime and homelessness has been an issue. It's driving the occupancy rates down right now in Portland Metro. I wouldn't say Metro, but in Portland, the occupancy rate is about 88%.
Really?
Yeah. So a few years back, everybody wanted to live in the urban. You wanted to walk to the restaurants, you wanted to walk to your shopping, wherever you shop. Now we're total opposite. You go to suburbs, to Beaverton, the occupancy rate, which was low back then 4, 5, 6 years ago, they are flourishing, they're doing really well. Beaverton is putting a lot of units up. My son just had a soccer game there last night at Mountain High School, beautiful high school, incredible. Parking stand, and all the lights were on, it's dark, so you can tell. All the lights were on. So, we have a little bit of a change of, but it all changes. The rents in Portland area haven't gone up in the last couple of 2 years. Now, I don't want to bore you with all these factors, but I think these factors are really important to understand why we are putting this project on hold and not moving forward. I know 7 to 8 years is a long time. I've invested a lot of equity and time into this project, and I want it to be finished. We had this discussion with Mandy and Bill last week. They're like, what do you want to do? I said, I'm looking at all different angles to see what we can do. Is time on our side? Probably, but not in the short term. To be honest with you, I'm here to be transparent. So if you have any questions, please ask me. I will give you a straight answer because, yes, I'm invested in this project, but I'm not that selfish to kill it so nobody else can get it done. I have reached out to other developers with, to be honest, with bigger pockets. They're not that interested. And I tell you why. When we first started this project in 2017, our hard cost was about 45 to 50 million. Now it's north of 7. That's a big gap. That's a big gap that I remember last time I was in front of the city council, one of the members asked me, she said, what are you going to do if the prices go up? I said, well, we got to put more equity. But I wasn't thinking about 20, 25 million. So that's a big gap. That's a big problem to have. I mean, I've looked into bringing investors. As a developer, there are two parts that you're looking at. You're looking at a project 5 years pre-construction. You gotta look at the project 5 years post-construction. Especially a large project like this. That's what it costs more expensive. And the reason I say that is because if you're not looking, you have to bring investors in. Investors are not lifelong partners. They want in 3-4 years later, they want to take the property and they want to get exposed. I have a good example of it. I don't know if I should mention it or not. Sure. Axle Tree, which you all know where it's located, right up the street. They built it, it was done. The investors wanted out. They put it on the market for $44 million. They had an offer for 42. This is before the interest rates went up. They just sold it a month ago for 20. Really? 20 million. So they lost a lot. So I'm sitting in front of you, being transparent, and telling you I'm not just looking at that. I'm also looking, so what if I bring investors in? What's going to happen in the next 5 years after the project's complete? The project's going to be a 2.5 year. So we are about 9 months away from getting permit. 6 months of finishing the design, but at 50% DD, we're going to list 6 months to finish the design. Probably another 3-4 months for permitting, I don't think the permit is going to take long because I think the city's looking forward to this project. We've been working on it in the city for a very long time. But that is another probably $3 million investment. They put in with STC charges and everything else. At this point, I'll be honest with you, I don't feel comfortable. Okay, so I've looked at, I also hooked up with a group of people, a couple of local guys, and all they do is affordable housing. They're talking about converting the entire Coho project to 100% affordable housing. The problem with that is you're not going to get your gateway. It's affordable housing. You're going to go to step one, scratch. You got to start all over.
The design changes.
The design changes 100%. Because, for instance, a good example right now, you're looking at 195 unit. And I believe 91 is studios. We have, top of my head, I want to say 75 one bedrooms, 30 some 2 bedrooms, and I think 2 or 3 3-bedroom units. If we go to affordable housing, there's no need. I've looked at it. I've actually done my due diligence. I know a lot more about affordable housing than I did a year ago. There is no need for studios and 1 bedrooms. You need 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms because people who are truly needing affordable housing are families with small children. They're not going to be able to live in a studio. I toured one of these guys' projects on Northeast 99. They just finished it. And they made the same mistake. They had too many studios. They couldn't rent the studios. So, but yes, we have to go to start and start from scratch. That's another 12 to 18 months to get it to where we are today. Because I'm sure we got to go through all the studies that we had done before. We have to do all the neighborhoods, association meetings, which we had a few of those. So what am I asking? I'm asking for an extension. Well, am I asking for an extension? I think I am. My goal is I want to finish this project. I don't want to hand it to somebody else. Okay? I mean, and truly, it's not because of the equity I put into it. That's put aside. You win some and you lose some. I've got enough gray here to understand. But it is something that when you put, 7 years of your time into it, and I can visualize it, I can see it, and I can feel it. I just can't do it right now. It's just because of the whole situation with, interest rates. I mean, I have a couple of things that I, thought would be really important is I'm old enough to see the market change, and it will change. The Feds are going to meet on the 28th and 29th of this month. They're going to put a big lot of interest rate on. The rumor has it that by mid or end of next year, the Feds are going to have the prime at 3%. That's what we're looking for. The cost is going to come down. Why? The cost is going to come down because there are no developments. Nobody's building homes. Nobody's building apartments. There will be a shortage. And frankly, the subs will go out of business unless they drop their prices. I mean, that's how it goes. You know, if you're not buying those Toyotas out of the dealership, what is the dealership going to do? They're going to give you an incentive of $3,000 cash back or something like that. Same thing is going to happen in development. Can I give you a time? Not really, I don't really know. But we were talking about it, I think it'll be another 12 to 18 months for the cycle to go around. We can go back to development. That's pretty much what I have for you.
Yeah, just so the council knows, currently we've been in the due diligence period for a couple of years now. The latest extension goes through January of next year. And so, yeah, January,
Last day of January, and then, and so another decision point will be made, so this is also a good time. Hearing from Fareed, giving an update, and then also just kind of engage with council is, hearing where the project is, hearing where Fareed's at. It's time for a good discussion and questions.
Fareed, I appreciate the situation you're in. I guess I'm uncomfortable that we're asking for an indefinite pause or extension without some sort of due date. Can you put an end date on the extension?
I can give you an end date on extension, but that's arbitrary, really. I mean, whether I get an extension or not, and I like your feedback. I mean, you know, what are our options? Really? Bring another developer? I've tried. I've talked to a couple of guys, you know, and they all have the same problem. When you do your pro forma and you put your revenue from after construction and you put in the financing cost and servicing the loan, you gotta feed it every month. I have one of those right now that I'm feeding it every month. One that I just finished in COVID because the cost went up, the interest rate went up from 3.7%, right now it's 8%. I feed it because it doesn't generate enough income. Now, the only reason I can feed it is because I have a dental business. That's a pretty successful dental business. But if I were Axle Tree and I couldn't feed it, I'd sell the project for $28 million and take a $20 million loss. So when you ask me to give you a date, and I'm trying to be really honest with you, I don't know. Having said that, there is not a day that I don't look at different angles. So the guys who approach me for affordable housing, I get an email every other day. I got a pro forma, this, they love it because it's a good location. Of course they love it. They get all the money from HUD and everything else. And I can just say, here you go, walk away, and they'll be thrilled. But then we're not going to get what we were planning on, especially in that corner, especially with the way the city of Milwaukie, the downtown is going forward. I don't want to say it's going to be an ugly project, but it's going to be pretty, you know, because when you're doing affordable housing, you know, it's not like you're cutting on, you're not doing the same quality. The exterior of the building is not going to be brick flat. It's not going to be, you know, solar panels on top like we were talking about. So I'm working on it. That's what I can tell you.
maybe to rephrase your question, Councilor Massey, is what is reasonable? Maybe.
Sure, I'll let you any kind of way. I'm just trying to.
I think 12 to 18 months is reasonable. I hope the cycle changes and it will be sooner, because to be honest with you, the longer this project drags on, the more it's gonna cost. And it costs right now. I still have architects and engineers on the payroll. I mean, that's not much right now because I can't tell them don't do anything. They want to do something too. Everybody's got to make a living.
So that would basically be either a January 27 end date or a June 1.
Roughly, yes.
That doesn't mean it'd have to be completed.
No, I mean, I've been asked that question before. Do you want to? No, it's not going to be indefinite. Like, I'll get it done when I feel like it. That's not what I'm asking. I understand. There's got to be some sort of a, kind of a hard date on it or soft date on it, how you want to look at it. But no, I'm not asking indefinite that, just put an infinity in front of it.
So I was surprised by the 88% occupancy rate in Portland, and I was curious as to what you know about occupancy rates in
The rents in Portland actually the last 2 years went down. Not a lot, 1%. But when you look at the gap of rather than going up 3%, going down 1%, that's a 4% difference. Apartment residential rental apartments, you don't have a huge problem. I've had people ask me, oh, Jesus, did you make millions of dollars? In the long run, maybe, and I've been square with you guys, you have 4 to 5% return. But what happens is you have an upside, and that's the upside that's important. Like Axel Tree's upside was build it for 29 million, that's how much it cost to build it. And they were asking 44, they didn't take a 42 million offer, they sold for 28 million. So the upside is what you do. So the rents, and it's crime. I have 2 properties in St. John's. Last winter, they actually had the wood siding on the side of the building on fire. They put fluid on the wood siding to stay warm. The smoke went inside. At 2:30 in the morning, I get a call. The fire department vacated 110 units. 300 people standing on the sidewalk. Not a problem. That's why the occupancy is low. You have tenants, you have people, every day you gotta clean urine and feces off the front door. It's tough.
For Milwaukie, we can get you those numbers, Mayor, using CoStar. But anecdotally, I can say that the Axel Tree is occupancy, 7 acres, similar across the street, a little different stories that came online at different time. So the market has changed to Fareed's point.
And that one has taken quite a bit. I believe they're in the high 80s now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think suburbs are doing better. Milwaukee, neighbors in those areas are doing better, much better, just because people are seeing.
Well, we know from the fact that Polish did not move forward on the Pietro site, we know that the problem you're talking about with financing is real. And I'm just trying to get an understanding of how much it's interest rates, how much it's occupancy rates, how much it's tariffs or construction, what are all the...
Well, tariffs, would make a difference. You're looking at tariff for Canada. Maybe it's another level. All the trees we have in Oregon, I don't know why we can't get our own from Canada. That's where it comes from. So, if there's another 25-30% tariff on goods coming from Canada, that adds. To answer your questions, all of these things combined now. There's no one single item that you can say, if that one specific, like interest rates drop all of a sudden, boom, we got a go sign. It's all a matter of small percentages. Interest rates need to drop down a little bit. The cost needs to come down a little bit. The occupancy needs to go up a little bit. The rents need to go up. Having said that, the rents, I was talking to my architect, they're charging $5 in Seattle. In the last 5-6 years, we've been charging, I think for like a 2-bedroom, it's $260, $270, unless you live in Pearl District, it's $3 something. But the rents really haven't gone up as much as the cost has. I'll give you a good example. It's COVID hit. And all of a sudden now we have no hygienists. We can't find one. Before COVID, we paid our hygienists $45 an hour. Now they get paid $70. And you cannot hire one. Because they come to interview you. So they interview you, they go to the next interview, you say, hey, they give me 70, are you gonna make me 75? So that's how the market is.
I just want to jump in there with one clarification question and one sort of procedural note. The clarification question is just when we were talking, Fareed, about the 12 to 18 months, can you clarify, would that be 12 to 18 months longer you need for due diligence?
Yes.
Okay. And then the procedural question is just want to clarify for council, you don't need to make a decision tonight. So this is a chance to ask questions, hear from Fareed, but just don't feel pressure to, actually, please don't. There will need to be subsequent conversations.
So let's say 18 months, and that takes us to June or July of 27. Does that mean you're not doing these, getting to 100% design until that is over, until you?
Well, I'm asking for time to come up with a solution and the direction that we want to go to. I think that's why it's important. I love you guys' feedback. I think it's important. Why is it important? Because it's downtown Milwaukie. I don't want to put a project over there that is going to be, every time you drive by, it's a guy. So I want it to be a good project. What I'm trying to figure out is the direction that we need to go. And the direction is the market going to change so I can build this? Do I go to affordable housing? If the market is not, so I think, and I don't want to do this anymore because it's really stressful. So my goal is to have a decision before the end of the night next year. And come to you and tell you, listen, councilors, I couldn't pull this off. I found a new developer, bigger pockets, he's going to finish it, or we're going to go affordable housing. I think in your discussions, I think it'll be really helpful for me to decide what's your preference. Affordable housing is always great. There's a lot of affordable housing coming to the market because that's the only thing that makes sense. Housing, because you get all the money for free. The HUD comes in, put it on a platter, HUD offered $50 million for this project to all affordable. And then the metro is going to put in money. Then, from what I understand, you can sell your rebates to another company that they give. So they can go, but they're going to go back and they're going to cut the whole project, and I don't know what it's going to look like. So is that what we want to do? I love your feedback. Tell me.
When you got approached about the affordable housing part, did they tell you roughly how many units they can get there?
They are thinking about 178, but your units are going to be smaller than what we have. So your 2 bedrooms, like what we have right now, 2 bedrooms, or not just ours, but in a market rate apartments, the 2 bedrooms are somewhere between 875 to 950 square. So their 2 bedrooms is going to be 710. So that's what happens. You squeeze them, and then there'll be all 2 bedroom, 1 bath. There will not be a 2 bedroom, 2 bath. That market rate requires.
But if all this money is there, then how come they couldn't be built nicer? If it's all free money, because I mean, that across the street is affordable housing, that looks pretty nice. I mean, there's some, the affordable housing across from the high school looks good. If HUD's willing to throw 50 million, I mean, you can make that a pretty nice affordable housing unit.
You can, but you're not gonna get as many units as, because that's also what they're looking for.
But it would be more units than,
How many units for that?
And it's taking it off.
yeah, but
I
I
mean,
mean,
there's a lot
we got
to
off our tax rolls for
discuss.
10 years.
It's not, affordable housing is just, it's very complicated.
It is,
And I
but
have to say, I mean, I think we probably don't want to go too far down that line tonight, like Emma said, but there's a question in my mind of even whether you can, I mean, whether under our DDA you can sell it for a different design, right? If not the design you presented, can you do that? It's a legal matter.
Yes.
You know, I think we would need to look at that.
If there was a new design, what does that do to the glow bar?
Really, the Clomar is specific to the design.
I kind of thought you were going to say that. I wish you wouldn't, but that's fine.
That's gonna get on you, the
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, there's probably some part of it that transfers, you know, but I'm sure that there's a delta as well in a new design.
the reason I bring that up is because we obviously want to get what we can in that location. And if you know, doing 195 with how many of those were going to be affordable, like 10%. We can't make that work. I mean, right? Something has to be figured out. And the reason I bring that, I mean, and taking it off our tax roll, they took Axle Tree off our tax roll, or the council voted for that, right? And Axle Tree is nothing, not one part of Axle Tree is affordable. So I'm okay with,
Well, Axle Tree's back on the tax roll.
yeah, now, but it was given a 10-year tax abatement by the council for nothing.
Vertical housing.
It shouldn't have been nothing. It should have been like a 70 or 80% abated.
Last year it was. You're right.
But there's no affordable, there's nothing affordable in Axle Tree. Their studio, as of last year, was like $1,650. Studio,
They are getting voucher tenants in there.
probably because they can't fill the thing, right? So what I'm saying is if anybody's gonna get taken off a tax roll, you would want it to be something that's gonna be like an affordable housing. Now, I'm not saying that's like, I'm an affordable housing guy. I was on the planning commission and voted yes on this project. I remember this project because, and one of the things,
Curtis Weisstadt project?
what was that?
Curtis Weisstadt?
What was that?
His name is Curtis Weisstadt?
No, it was this, the Coho, your project. Yeah, you came, Councilor Massey and I were on planning commission that time. And I remember commenting on your project, saying that this is exactly something that we need because of the affordable component, because Milwaukie already is getting priced out as it is. So I'm not saying, sure, my preference, I'd love to have 175 units of affordable housing. But I know that there's other components in here and other interests that's a part of this. But I don't see that as a negative, is what I'm saying, I guess. But I'm not necessarily opposed to an extension, because I do understand the predicament you're in at this
No, I
juncture.
mean, the reason I'm asking for extension is not because I'm gonna just sit back and, sit on my hands.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, it's one of the different versions of this.
Right.
Like I said, I also have to calculate what's, I bring in investors, what's gonna happen once it's complete and stabilized. Where the rent's gonna be, so those are the top numbers. You gotta kinda know what the future's gonna hold for rent, so.
Because if we don't provide any, I mean, like you were saying, what is our options?
As far as
Like what
this
else?
project?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, that's more of like Justin and myself kind of digging into the DDA and what conditions are in there that,
so it's not like a clear cut.
It's not necessarily clear cut. There's some assignment language. There's
conditions of what the city wanted, we negotiated with three.
Yeah.
so as I'm honestly, conceptual about things, you know. But there's a path. It just depends on where we're at as a city and what we're willing to lean away from or lean into, and then also what we're free to do. So those are more of those questions. But there are ways, there are conditions that need to stick if there's an assignment, and there's potential for it not working at all, right? So going right back to the whole, going right back to
New
the RFP,
Yeah.
exactly.
Definitely has to go for new water, right?
And that's the thing, kind of where we are, it's, you know, an extension might be better, might be in our interest, considering that Colmar took. Sorry. That's
I didn't have
why.
any gray hair with this project.
I was gonna say you look different.
For me, despite all of the challenges here, I do want to tell you that I, for one, thank you for wanting to invest in the city, no matter what happens.
Well, I'm not just saying that, but I made a good living being in the city of Milwaukee. I was involved back in 1997, 98, when they had the housing, you know, Johnson's Economic was, you know, part of the group. You had a bunch of developers. I was part of the group. And the conversation was, the last 25 years, population of Milwaukee had gone up by 1. Remember that? Yeah. And 1, in 25 years, the population of Milwaukee went from like 20,851 to 20,852. And we were all sitting there like, how could it just go up by 1? And so it's good to see. I mean, it's good to see all the new developments. It's good. I mean, I grew up by the old city hall. I'm like, oh, that was cool.
Oh, you need to go to lunch there.
I know. Well, because since I moved to Milwaukee Marketplace, I just go to New Season. That place has turned around. Boy.
Yeah.
So it's good to see the city alive. It's good. It's fun. So no, I have all the interest. I want to get it done.
Could I clarify, if you did just affordable housing, would you still have commercial space? And as you're talking about them scaling down the units, I know you talked about redesigning it, but is there the potential to keep the current design, just units more cramped?
Well, if I go that direction, I don't know what my goal would be. And also, because the city requires, like right now, the city code says you have to have, you know, because retail is dead. It's, you know,
Except recently, we updated the code. We updated the code that if there was a affordable housing project, they wouldn't have to do mixed use or commercial on the ground floor.
well, the city of Portland is doing a variance too, so if you have retail that's not renting, it's been sitting, I think they have a 3 to 4 year minimum on it. You can convert it into an apartment, but don't call it a unit, call it living. But it's basically an apartment on the street level. Because retail is not moving right now. So that, yeah.
Well, we still see that in Axletree, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I use that variance in a couple of my projects, and it worked. I mean, people work. So it's better than empty space.
So we only have about 3 minutes left. I just want to make sure you all have your questions asked and answered, and also Fareed, that you have said what you wanted to say before council, so.
I believe so.
I think I did.
Yeah, thank you for coming in.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming in. All right. So with that, we are adjourned from our work session, and we will convene at 6:30 for our regular session. Thank you.